people have asked over time, why law for engineers? Okay, why law for engineers? Can't we just, you know, limit ourselves to our area or our field? And the answer is simple. Okay, ignorance of the law is not defense. Ignorance of the law is not defense under any circumstance. Okay, ignorance of the law is not defense under any circumstance. Therefore, every individual, at least in Kenya, is supposed to know the law, okay, holistically. However, as a professional, you are expected, the bar gets a bit higher, okay? You are expected to know the law generally and then know the specific provisions of the law that are applicable to your particular area, okay? Example, geospatial, planning, matters conveyancing. They're supposed to know all that, in addition to knowing what general laws are. Civil engineers, let me ask Caesar. Caesar, after completion of engineering as a profession, once we give you the power to practice, what will you be doing out there? Talk to me like you're talking to your auntie from the village who does not know what engineering is, and they need to understand how best they can get help. So what will you be doing out there to help the public?
I envision myself being a structural engineer. So my role is simply to ensure that the structural integrity of every structure setup is not compromised.
So innovation, if I heard you right, and inventions. Okay, so what kind of innovation? Of course, some of you will be employers. We'll also have employees in our midst, and we will have inventors or innovators, like you're saying. Now, the question then is, what kind of products are expected of you? What is the output? Let's go to Daisy. Daisy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So what output, what is the expectation from you as a mechanical engineer?
To be able to or repair and also design machines and engines and also material processing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Repair, design. So this is this should emanate from research, yeah? Is that the
Yes.
position? Okay.
Yes.
And invent. Okay. Do you believe in inventions?
In invention.
Yes. Some people like
Yeah.
ready-made goods, others, okay. Now, why am I asking all this? So that then, as we move along, the examples that we'll be having must then take into consideration the various areas that we are looking at. Okay. Now, I have said that ignorance of the law is not defense. Okay.
I think you're muted.
Could not find it.
Okay, there.
You can say hi to my class.
Hi.
Come.
Hi.
Sorry, that's my assistant. She will be helping us with that class. Sorry about that. I didn't even know where the buttons were. Anyway, now, the first two classes, geospatial class is had taken off. We are on course. And now I would like to have presentation as my board so that then we can kick off. Okay. Window, that blank window. Okay. Ignore the side panel. Start writing this. The question then would be, what is law? Okay. The question then would be, what is law and why law? So some of you would be asking me, at the end of the day, how is this aiding my course? Okay. So what are we going to look at moving forward in the course of this class? What is the scope of our coverage? Okay, that is what we've gone through with the geospatial group. First, we have to look at the nature of law. Okay, first, we have to look at the nature of law. And this will entail the definition of law. Okay, this will entail the definition of law and how do we then say that we know what law is and how do we arrive at that presumption? All this we'll look at in the course of this class. Okay. Then to help us explain the nature of law or what law is, we'll look at various theories. Okay. We'll look at the various theories, and the geospatial class has already looked at those theories, which we'll look at as we move along. Okay. Then the theories will help us understand what law is. After we have understood what law is, we must then go down and ask ourselves the relevance of law as it is to our discourse as engineers or to us as individuals. Okay, we will have to look at the relevance of engineering or of law to our discourse as engineers and why it is important that we undertake law. And I was telling you, okay, in the course of introduction, I was telling you that it would be very important. It would be very important for you to understand as an individual, first, the importance of law to you. Then you go into the specifics, which are the relevance of law to your profession. Okay. If you just look at law, or if we just look at law holistically, okay, and we say that, you know what, we need to understand law from the position of a legal student, then we'll not be able to understand what law really is. We need to understand it from our own perspective, okay? We need to understand law from our own perspective as engineers, okay? Are you able now to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, now that is my board. It's the board that I'll be using for purposes of presentation. The first thing we'll be looking at is the nature of law. Okay, what is law? And how it really affects us. What is law? The board is now clear. Nature of law. Law for engineers. And you're all engineers, okay? So what is the scope of our study? The scope of our study is one, nature of law. Okay? And I've said that when we are looking at the nature of law, we will look at
5 minutes after he was taken, that sweet kid was dead.
Who is that? Someone wants to join? No? Okay. Okay? So we have to ask ourselves, what is law? Okay? That is the definition. Okay. Then we will come up with the various meanings. There's a difference between definition of a concept and the meaning of a concept. Definition is according to a person. Let's say we talk of, let's say, Daisy, Caesar, or Alvin. They would come up with a word, definition of a certain concept. Then we'll say, according to Daisy, according to Alvin, or according to Caesar, law is ABCD. Then we look at the meaning. Meaning is a general application of that concept to your day-to-day affairs. So you'll be asking yourself, in the course of my interaction with the term law, what does it resonate? Some of the people will say that it is, let's say, a solution towards injustice, okay? Or somebody will say that it is a cause towards civilization, or somebody else. All these definitions or all these meanings, according to this particular person, are true. Why? Because that's how they feel. Okay, and that is how they associate law with law, or that's how they operate around law. So we will have the various meanings arising out of our environment, our interaction with the law, and our day-to-day affairs. Okay, then we will go into the features of law, as it were. Okay, and the features of law will emanate from the various theories of law. Okay? So At the end of the day, the theories of law are the ones that will then give us the nature of law, what law really is according to the various personalities. So that is law. So after we are done with getting to know what law is, the various features according to the theories, we will go into application. What is the relevance of law to you as a geospatial engineer? What is the relevance of law to you as a civil engineer? What is the relevance of law to you as a mechanical engineer? Okay, where you have looked at, let's say, let me give an example of Karl Marx theory of law. Okay, and we all know that Karl Marx he's a Marxist, he's a father of economics. Okay, so when you're looking at his theory and where he's talking about class wars and the fact that one day the state will wither away, the state that is responsible for making laws, rules, and orders, it's a fallacy. Okay, it sounds like a joke, but to him, it's a very serious concept that needs to be taken into consideration in various discussions. Okay, so if you look at the Marxist theory, okay, if you look at Marxist theory, of law, and then we are asking ourselves, what is the relevance of that to a geospatial engineer? And you had already told us, Alvin had already told us that geospatial engineering is majorly about spatial planning, development, conveyancing, matters, movement of property, and checking how planning and titular issues and matters, even pollution, are concerned. So when you're looking at Karl Marx, who is looking at the economic theory and the matters, development, and class wars, you're asking yourself, is this planning applicable across the board? Okay? When you're looking at planning, is it applicable across the board, or is planning going to take place within certain areas of the city or your environment? Okay? Are there areas where people just wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to build here without a thought? Okay? Or are these spaces where planning has been done, the government agencies, consideration has been taken of the various opinions of the government agencies, and also public participation has taken place? So that is relevance according to Alvin's. The application of the law, how is it relevant to them? When you're undertaking various planning consideration, you have to look at the different populations that you're dealing with. You have to look at the various spatial places that you're undertaking your development. And you have to consider the health of various personalities, okay? So at the end of the day, this is key. This theory is relevant to geospatial engineering. Then we go to civil engineering. When you're looking at civil engineering, how is the Marxist theory relevant to them? The class rep talked about invention, okay? This is what they're going to do in the course of coming up with the various products that are relevant within their field. The question is there a class war, okay? In the course of these innovations and inventions, are there class wars? Are they going to experience one disgruntled group and another group that is not? And how do you then balance this effect as a professional? So this is the relevance that we are then looking at. And when you look at mechanical engineers, Daisy told us that you are going to look into machines, the repairs, the various designs, the inventions. The question then is, when you're looking at these machines, are they applicable across the board? Is everyone going to understand them, okay? Or is it discriminatory? In the course of repairs and coming up with the designs, okay? Let's take examples. I think this is also mechanic, maybe that's automotive. If you look at the various cars on the just today, when you leave your class and you're looking at the various cars on the road, you'll realize that there are certain cars, okay? There are certain cars that are not conducive for our roads, or the roads are not good for the operation of these vehicles. Example, if you find a car that is very low, okay? Let's say you get a Mercedes that is very low. You can't run it in an environment where probably you have bumps that have been constructed like ugali, you know? We have such kind in this nation where there's lack of uniformity in planning, okay? And under those circumstances, you realize that if you own such a car or such a vehicle, you will be running on empty in terms of your work will be repair after repairs, okay? And at the same time, if you have a road runner and you're busy using it, okay, within, let's say the city or those smooth roads, it would then show that at the end of the day, the relevance, okay? What is this relevant to this particular space, okay? So when we are looking at the law, the nature of law, the various theories, how is this applicable to me as an individual in my field? And a local person or a person who has not had exposure to your extent must then be able to understand what you're talking about for you to be able to earn a living, unless you plan on going abroad, okay, to go and exercise your craft, okay? So law for engineers is supposed to help you understand your environment and the applicability thereof, okay? Understand how you're going to relate to the society as a whole. So when you're looking at these theories, don't look at the theory in isolation of your profession as an engineer, okay? Look at the theories in relation to your profession as an engineer, okay? Is there a question so far on the nature of law? Maswali? Okay, so no question. The next thing we are going to look at, the law of contract, okay? The law of contract. Okay? I'm sure you have encountered contracts. You have interacted with the word contract. And apart from that, you have studied it as a unit. So here, you're supposed to relate it to your professional undertakings as an individual, okay? And we all know that breach of contract is not a crime. Breach of contract does not lead to a criminal liability. It is civil, okay? So a contract, we know that is an agreement between two parties which the law will enforce. That's a general indication of what a contract is. When we are looking at contracts, we have to ask ourselves, what is it? We have to ask ourselves the question, what? Then, what are the features? Okay? What are the features of a valid contract? Okay? What are the features of a valid contract? And what are the various kinds of contracts? Now that we are talking about valid contracts, what are the various kinds of contracts? Okay? When do you say that you have signed a deal between you and your client? When do you say that the deal is home between you and your client. When can the client retract? When can you retract? When can you say that there are so many gray areas or loose ends for you to then walk out of a contract? Maybe you are an employer, an employee, an inventor. When do you say that you have a contract for purposes of the law? Okay, we'll look at that. Then, the same way you formed a contract, how do they come to an end? Okay, how do you discharge a contract? Okay, and once we have looked at that, we will look at the remedies. Okay, if let's say somebody is in breach of contract, do you have any remedies under the law? Okay, we will look at all those remedies so that at the end of the day, you know that a contract is a civil wrong arising out of agreement between parties. This is not something you're forced into. It is something that you sign for. As a professional engineer, when can you say that you have signed a contract and therefore liability should start? Or when can you be held responsible? Remember, we are looking at the law of contract in relation to you as a professional and the liability of your employees if you are an employer. To what extent are you liable for their mistakes when it comes to matters contracts? Okay, so that is contract. Any questions? Maswali kutoka darasani? No questions, okay? Then the next thing we'll be looking at, number 3, the law of torts. Okay? The law of torts. Remember, we've looked at the nature of law. Okay, that was 1. Then we've looked at the law of contracts. That is 2. And now we are looking at the law of torts. Okay? So the question then would be, what is a tort? Okay? What is a tort? Okay? And a tort is a civil wrong. A tort is a civil wrong arising out of negligence or breach of duty. Okay? A tort is a civil wrong arising out of negligence or breach of duty. Remember, a contract is also a civil wrong. But here, it's arising out of agreement. Okay? You need to clearly distinguish them. If you enter into a contract to sell your invention to Safaricom, okay? If you enter into a contract with Safaricom to sell your invention to them, that is a contract. It's arising out of an agreement, okay? Whatever money they'll pay you, you'll say, you'll agree on with them. That is consideration. However long that contract will take, you'll agree on it with them, okay? That is a contract. A tort, on the other hand, is a civil wrong, arising out of negligence. Example, as an engineer, the law expects you to take care of your neighbor. If you have, let's say, a site where you're undertaking your innovations, inventions, repairs, and all that, then you leave your tools or gadgets all over the place, okay? These are dangerous objects, and a third party walks into the site and probably they get injured. And it gets serious so much so that they probably lose their limb. You are liable under the law of torts. You cannot say that this was a trespasser and under the fact that, due to the fact that they are a trespasser, I was not supposed to take care of them or their interests. No. As a professional, the law expects you to ensure that the space where you are undertaking your obligation, is well taken care of in terms of you're minding the welfare of third parties, okay? And you are ensuring that anybody who walks into your site is not harmed. Or if you have employees and you're undertaking some innovation, some invention, okay? You've come up with some invention and now you're coming up with a prototype. In the course of this, if you're working with employees, you're supposed to ensure that they have protective gears. If they do not have protective gears, or if you don't avail the same to them, they are not supplied with protective gears, then they get injured. You will be held 100% liable for their medical treatment, okay? You will pay for the medical costs, and you will also settle other bills that arise out of the inconveniences caused to them. Okay? So that is the law of torts. Negligence. And remember, this is not a wrong that somebody has signed for. It's a civil wrong that arises out of breach of duty. Another example, an example that is way out there, maybe you're constructing a structure and you fail to put those scaffolding, the green things, the scaffolds. Then maybe a stone falls and hits somebody on the road. This person did not sign to be hit, okay? Or another example, common example, you're using public transport. Then these people are busy calling out passengers, okay, or pedestrians. Then they carry you and put you in their car without your consent. That is against the law of torts. Why? Because for somebody, that is violation of their modesty, and it is a tort. So at the end of the day, I always say that Kenyans we don't know our rights. Why? Because somebody will come to you and let's say they will threaten to hit you, probably even with their car. And you say that they did not harm you because you did not suffer harm. But what we don't know is that that is assault. Battery is where somebody hits you completely, whereas assault is where they threaten but they fall short of hitting you. So those are circumstances that are found under the law of torts. If you are an employer, then you have a tendency of anger. You're getting angry and you threaten to hit your employee. That one is law of torts, okay? They can sue you for under the law of torts. So we have to be very careful as a professional. Then we have labor laws. Okay? We have labor laws. What are these labor laws in relation to you as a professional engineer? Okay? We will look at what they are. Okay? How would they affect you as a professional? Okay? How would they affect you as a professional? And to what extent are you, to what extent are you expected to know the labor laws? Okay? So if you do not know or if you ignore the labor laws, it can be detrimental to you as a professional. How so? If your employees go on strike, okay? If your employees go on strike because of negligence on your part, failure to listen, failure to undertake, then it shows that at the end of the day, it would be very clear that at the end of the day, it would affect your business. It would affect your bottom line. It would affect the downtime. Okay. So labor laws, what are they? How they affect you as a professional, as an employee, as an employer, as an inventor. How they affect you. To what extent are you expected to know the law? As a professional, as an individual, you know that ignorance of the law is no defense. As a professional, you know that you are supposed to know the law, because if you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, then some of the wrongs are without excuse, okay? You will be held liable, and the government would not want to listen to any excuses that the third party was supposed to know, this person was not supposed to be here, they are my employees. And another example is where you have employees and the protective gears are supposed to be provided for them, but the same is not provided, okay? Under those circumstances, if they get injured, the labor laws kicks in, okay? Or you're dealing with spurious substances, labor laws kicks in. Or you're dealing with dangerous equipment, labor laws kicks in. Or you're dealing with chemicals, labor laws then kicks in. So at the end of the day, labor laws are so important, and they're the backbone of every commercial dealing in the country. Yes, somebody's saying something? Okay, then the next thing that we'll be looking at is the arms of government. And in particular, the judiciary. That is the court system. What is the court system that affects you as a professional engineer? Okay, there are certain issues that affect other people. Let's say like family division affects families, whether it's property, whether it's divorce care, whether it's that, okay? And we have, let's say judicial review decisions, they affect when you're disgruntled, okay? Now, as a professional engineer, if you're going to be an employee, employer, inventor, then the court system would affect you in such a way that the Employment and Labor Relations Court is the one to deal with the labor issues. So that is where the court system then comes in. Commercial dealings, where you have entered into a contract with, let's say, Safaricom, and they've refused to pay you. That is where the court system then comes in. Then the legislature or parliament comes in terms of lawmaking. Legislature. Why is it important? Why is it important to look at the workings of the legislature? It is important because they make laws, and the laws that they make determine how far businesses are able to grow, okay? Labor laws. They also determine some of the circumstances that are considered under the law of torts. Liability without excuse, they determine that. Matters insurance. As a professional, you need to insure your business. To what extent is this then applicable? Okay. So at the end of the day, it's very important to understand the arms of government. Then the executive, the implementer. The executive at times makes certain pronouncements that go directly and affect the labor relations. You have seen matters, minimum wage. You have seen all these affairs. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at the law for engineers, you know that you are a professional. You are either an employer, an employee, or an inventor, or even a designer, developer, and all that. In the course of that, the executive decisions or pronouncements come in. If they are adverse, they can affect business and lead to closure of businesses or companies, or a bad decision or a negative pronouncement made by the executive can lead a market to slump. So at the end of the day, it is very important to know the effect of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary or court system upon your discourse as an engineer. Are there any questions? Maswali kutoka darasani before we move on? Elvis, are you there? Elvis Karumbi, any questions? None. Okay. Now, if you do not have questions, we'll go into what Alvin's class had then looked at. Okay. If you do not have any questions, we'll go into what Alvin's class had looked at. And that is the scope of what we are going to look at the whole time. And in the course of looking at all that within the whole time, we will have a number of CATs. Okay? Some will be in, some will be out. Majorly, in we have 2, that is sit-in cards. Then out, we will have as many depending on the discussions. Why is this important? If you take the CAT with the seriousness that it deserves, then at the end of the day, you will not have to struggle in the course of your revision. That is one. Secondly, you will not be fighting for 100 marks, okay? Because you'd have garnered what you needed to have gotten in the course of your CAT. So it makes it easy, okay? So that's the importance of CATs. So nature of law, okay? Nature of law. And I said that when you're looking at the nature of law, we have to ask ourselves the question, what? Okay? The question, what? So I'll go to class and ask. The class has 69 people, 68. Macy?
Yes.
What is law in your understanding?
I think a set of regulations that govern a people.
A set of regulations that govern a people. Kinoti Kimathi, are you there? Are you there? You're hiding behind the screen. Mark Kubai, are you there?
Yes.
Mark, what is law?
From my understanding is that law is a set of rules and regulations that as a particular set of commons or people come up to govern themselves.
Okay, that's right. Mary Ashley? Mary Ashley? Mary Ashley, are you there? Mary is hiding. Melvin? Melvin, are you there? Siminte?
Yes.
Yeah, what is law?
Law is set of guidelines that is used to ensure that there is order in society.
Now, from the various definitions or from the various meanings that they have given us, you will agree with me that the standing thread is rules and regulations. A set of rules, a set of rules, rules and regulations. Management, managing, controlling, okay? It's then very clear, okay? It is very clear that for you to have, for you to define the term law, you must have certain, the fact that it's a rule and set procedures must come into play. The question then is, to what extent? Okay, to what extent? It's therefore clear that those definitions are propounded by different people. Everyone thinks differently, depending on how they have interacted with the concept. And all these are defined by environment. The environment shapes your understanding of a concept. The group that you hang out with shapes your understanding of a concept. The society where you grew up shapes your understanding of a concept. And eventually, your day-to-day affairs, where do you spend time? That also shapes. Okay, so you'll appreciate the reason why everyone is giving their own definition, but at the same time, there are certain sticking points or factors that appear uniform within the thread of definition. And that's the reason why, before we start telling ourselves what law is, or before we come up with the definition, we have to ask ourselves, what are the various theories of law? What are the various theories of law? Theories are used, okay? Theories are used to define concepts. Okay? Theories are factors that are used to define concepts. If you don't know how to define a concept, many a times people use a theory. And you also know that within your engineering, there are so many theories in existence, okay? And these theories inform how the various concepts in an environment are understood. Theories are also used within the legal system to define what law is. Okay. They are also used within the legal parlance to define what law is. So what do I want us to do moving forward? I want us, that is Caesar's class and Daisy's class, Alvin's class has already done this assignment. I want us to discuss any between 4 to 6 theories of law. Okay? there are supposed to be 6 theories. Okay? There are supposed to be 6 theories that would help us understand the nature of law. And when we are discussing this, when you're discussing the theories, what would I expect? What do I expect? One, I expect you to discuss, to indicate to us what the theory is. Okay? What specific theory are you looking at? Then I expect you to bring out the proponents. Okay? I expect you to bring out the proponents. Who are the people responsible for this theory? Is it Alvin? Is it Daisy? Is it Caesar? Who is it? Okay? Who are the proponents? Then I want you to bring out the time period within which this theory took center stage. Okay? What was happening? Was it the Greco-Roman rule? Was it the economic downturn? Was it the police state system? When? What was this thing? What was happening during that period of time? That is time period. The next thing, you're supposed to look at the features. What are the features of that specific theory? Why? Because now from the features, we'll be able to define what law is. So when we are saying that laws are a set of rules for administration of justice, we are asking ourselves, according to who? And then we understand, oh, what was happening at that particular time or within that particular season. So that's why features are very important. Then, relevance. Okay? What is the relevance of this theory to your discourse as an engineer? Okay? So you have to get the relevance to your discourse as an engineer at the end of the day. If you look at this, okay, if you look at the theories, the specific theories in relation to this discussion in terms of, in relation to this being the scope, what the theory is, proponents, time period, features, and relevance, then you will be able to clearly define what law is. It will help you define what law is, and it will also help you understand the relevance of that particular theory, law, to you as an engineer. Without this, we will be defining law in a mechanical manner. Okay? We'll be defining law in a mechanical manner without understanding the background from which it emanates. Okay? And if we follow this, then even you'll even realize that the law of torts is within that nature of law. There's theories that cover that. The law of contracts, there are theories that cover that. Labor laws are already defined. Is there a question from class? Swali? No question. Okay. If there are no questions from class, then it means that Caesar's class and Daisy's class will undertake this assignment, and I expect to receive that assignment by, today is Monday, by Thursday latest. Let me receive that assignment by Thursday latest, so that then when we are moving together, and your CAT is also being taken care of. If you just go somewhere and you look at www.wikipedia and copy, then paste there, trust you me, you're subtracting marks from yourself. You're supposed to interact with concepts and understand them. Okay? Any questions? Okay. How do we present the assignment? The assignment will be presented on my email, will be written. You write and you send to my email. Okay. Let me give you my email. Once you have sent to that email,
Do we write or written?
yeah, jane.bukachi@tukenya. Sorry, somebody was asking a question. Kenya.ac.ke. Yes? Not handwritten, please.
Do we write or
Typed soft copy. And no copy pasting. And no AI. Okay. How many pages? If you factor in what the theory is, proponents, time period, features, and relevance, I want to imagine that each theory will take a page. When is the assignment due? The assignment is due on Thursday evening. Okay? The assignment is due on Thursday evening. Okay? And I would prefer that you do the assignment. Okay, you're going to send it to my email. But we are going to have subsequent assignments that we are going to have. We'll be sending through the class rep. But I've always been careful because at times we send through the class rep, maybe the class rep has not done. Then the work is easy for them. So just send. Okay, send to my email. Then we will look at it. As we move along, we will revise or review how the assignments are to be done. The subsequent ones. For this one, do send to my email. Any other question? So the assignment is handwritten. The assignment is typed. The number of pages must factor in the substance because you expect to score 15 marks. 15 marks is not a joke, is it? When's the assignment due? Thursday evening. And then I don't want to receive so many, oh, sorry, very sorry, madam. I was not able to send it because try as much as possible so that we live without our excuses. Okay. Any other question? Now, today, with the class of Alvin, we were supposed to look at the specific theories. But I believe that even on that day when we had that class, so many of them were not there. So we were not able to cover it extensively. So today I believe that everything is clear. Those, please give us at least a week so that we entail as much details as possible. If today is Monday, and I'm saying that it comes on Thursday, isn't that a long time? Because we're going to have another class in between. Today is Monday, we must have another class in between. And if we would not have handed in those assignments before that next class, then it essentially means that we are lagging behind. This is is it week 3? This is week 3. Week 1 was the week of 2nd. This is week 3. Week 2 was the week of 10th. So let us try and make sure that we submit the assignments on time. Any other concern? Thursday evening, you can send it as late as midnight. I'll see it on Friday morning. So Thursday evening is more or less like a week. Any other question? Swali? Okay. So if there are no questions,
Excuse.
yes?
Yeah, when we were doing the assignment, we didn't have time period as something to write about. It was only the theory, the proponents, and the features and the relevance to as an engineer. For discourse as an engineer, we didn't have that time period as a.
Okay. Now that we know, in the course of our discussion, we will tease out or bring out that time period, okay, to capture that which we omitted or missed out. Okay, that is noted. Any other question? Okay, so from the other class, if you feel like you posted your assignment and you have a feeling that you did not input everything that would then aid you and that the marks, you can still review, okay? And then you send and you say, this is a revised version of my initial work. I will look at it. Okay, if there are no questions, you have, in fact, you have 30 minutes to start. Is this assignment alone carrying 15 marks? Yes. This assignment alone is carrying 15 marks. You know that if we do so many cards, we average, okay? But at the end of the day, we are supposed to choose the one where you're behaving the best. So this assignment is not just supposed to help you garner marks. It's also supposed to help you understand your discourse and at the same time, prepare for the exams. We're already setting exams, okay? So in the next class, I'll be discussing all the theories. We will start one by one until we are able to exhaust all of them, looking at what it is, who the proponents are, time period, features, relevance to our discourse. At the end of the day, I believe we leave the class better, a better people. And remember the maxim, or remember our mantra is, ignorance of the law is no defense. So we are supposed to know all the rules and regulations that are affecting us as professionals. If there are no questions, then we have to end here.